Thank the gentleman, and we now have finished up the opening statements portion. Other members are very, very close. I hate that they didn't get the benefit of, don't start my clock yet, of your testimony. And I hate they're not going to get the benefit of my excellent questioning of you. But now I recognize myself for 5 minutes for questioning. You know, when I looked at the title of this hearing, American Energy Expansion, Improving Local Economies and Communities' Way of Life, I thought about all the time I spent in the state of Louisiana. Now, I'm honorary Texan, thanks to Governor Abbott, and it's great to be in West Texas. When I've spent time in Louisiana, from Lafayette to New Iberia to Thibodaux to Houma on down to Port Fourchon, on the sides of Highway 90, four-lane highway, there is business after 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 business that are somehow involved in supporting energy production offshore. It could be HVA servicing, it could be food services, it could be transportation, it could be, drilling mud, it could be supply vessels, it could be casing, it could be all the downhole widgets that make energy production possible offshore. Guess what I saw last night when I drove from the airport in Midland to the hotel across the street? On I-20 business, I guess is what it's called, Mayor, business after business after business after business after business after business after business that supports the energy production that happens in the Permian Basin. That's an impact on the economy. Those are great jobs within those industries that you guys represent. But the workers and the businesses themselves, they join the United Way and the Chamber of Commerce, and they support ball teams at the YMCA, and they go to church and they tithe, and they tip the waitresses, and they eat at local restaurants. Tremendous trickle-down economy within the energy sector, both in Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, and anywhere energy is produced. I saw it firsthand just from a little short drive from Midland Airport to downtown. You know the impact. You know the impact that energy provides. And I think about and I talk with the guys from Pruitt Energy today. When you take a barrel of hydrocarbon, you put it under pressure, God gave us this tremendous ability to figure this out. You put a barrel of hydrocarbon under pressure, and it miraculously separates in all kinds of products during the cracking that we use today, whether it's bottles, and I look around and see all the things that may derive from a barrel of hydrocarbons. It's an amazing substance produced right here in the Permian that makes the lives of people around the world so much better. But this administration's killing this industry. Okay, I appreciate the president saying that we're going to still need oil and gas for a while. His definition of a while, my definition of a while, and your definition of a while all could be different. We use 10 years in Washington for all kinds of stuff. 10 years is just kind of a filler word. 10-year budgeting, 10-year this, 10-year that. It's going to be a lot longer than 10 years, and I'm glad of that. But we've got to support the industry and not kill it. So, Mr. Pruitt, you mentioned how regulatory uncertainty and the COVID price collapse, ESG movement are all constrained the capital available to the industry. Can you explain how the president promising to end oil and gas production in the U.S. impacts your ability to establish long-term investment that's needed?
Yes, I'll give you an example. I mentioned we're owned by East and West Coast institutions through a private equity fund. And when our bank held a gun to our head and said, you need some additional equity or we won't extend your credit agreement, and if you don't put in the money, the alternative is you won't drill anymore, you're going to blow it down, and we'll own your cash flows. And it was a major bank. We went to our primary investor, even though we're 10 years old, we're way beyond the period in which they should be investing money. We're surviving on our own cash flow. So we went out to our 20 or so investors, and two of the largest, and they're household names, one is the largest money manager in the world, said, not only are we not going to invest, we're going to sell our shares back to the company. And we negotiated a price, and they went on their way, which was fine. Actually, it was fantastic because we managed to scrape together the money between myself, our CFO, and our primary investor. We got a new lease on life, paid down debt a little bit, and cut our debt in half over the next 6 months by not drilling. But basically, we quit drilling. We started blowing it down, but we complied with the bank. And now we have a great relationship with that same bank. We expanded our credit group. But there were many companies during that same time, even though we violated no covenants and our credit statistics were good, we were all put into the workout group just because the CEO mandated that. And they were basically telling us, we're going to dictate your budget. You can't drill. We own your cash flows. And that was a dark place to be. But fortunately, we got price recovery. The industry is healed, those of us who survived that dip. But in the meantime, the number of banks that would even consider loaning money shrunk. And most of our banks said, we have a mandate from the top not to advance any more capital than what we've already committed to you. So it's a whole new game. So from that experience, my peers and I are all knowing we have to survive on our own cash flow. We can't rely on the banks. We can't rely on getting external money. The number of private equity firms has dropped from 30 or something to probably 5 or 6 that can actually raise capital. And it's just a new world. So while we're not public, I mean, the publics are all saying we're going to reinvest 30% of our cash flow. The rest will go to share buybacks and dividends because that's what their investors want. But it's the same for private companies. We now need to provide dividends, and that will fundamentally limit the ability of Permian Basin and U.S. oil companies to grow.
My time's expiring, so I want to thank you for that. I look forward to the other congressman's comments and the questions you guys and talk about the impact on the economy and the government and that area. I'm going to go to Mr. Peters from California for 5 minutes.